Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Partner in Focus session between DIA and Origin Protocol. These Partner in Focus sessions are a series we've launched to bring more visibility to partners within the DIA ecosystem, explore their products, and highlight the technical collaboration occurring between them and DIA. For those of you who are joining us for the first time or are unfamiliar with DIA, DIA is a cross-chain data and Oracle platform specializing in the sourcing and delivery of customizable data feeds both on-chain and off-chain. DIA's data offering comprises of cryptocurrency prices, NFT floor prices, fair value feeds for liquid stakes tokens, random number generation, and more. And all of DIA's feeds can be accessed across over 38 different blockchain networks. Today, we are welcoming a partner that's bringing NFTs and DeFi to the masses with their product suite and has distinguished itself in the liquid staking category by way of its flagship yield-earning liquid staking product, Origin Ether. This team is Origin Protocol. On behalf of Origin, we are joined here by Peter Gray, who's on the BD team or the business development team at Origin. Peter, how's it going? Can you hear me well?
Loud and clear. Thanks for having me on.
Nice. Nice. Great to have you here, man. It's great to bring this to life after going back and forth over Telegram so often and getting the chance to meet once back in Austin earlier this year. So it's great to see you here today. Why don't we dive right in, Peter? We always like to start by gaining an understanding, or rather giving the audience an understanding of who we're speaking and hearing from today. So before we dive into Origin, can you tell us a little bit about your background and perhaps a little bit about your journey in this exciting crypto space?
Yeah, sure. I've got kind of like a cool, short little story for how I got here in the first place. The way that I got into crypto was I was selling an old iPhone back all the way back in 2013, and the website that I was selling it through gave me the option to get paid in U.S. dollars or in this thing called Bitcoin. And I was like, "What the heck is Bitcoin?" And I did some quick googling and read a few Reddit posts and was like, "All right, that seems kind of cool. I'll try out this Bitcoin thing." And so I sold my iPhone for a half Bitcoin all the way back then, and opened up one of the first ever Coinbase accounts way back, and didn't sell it for a long time. Uh, Forgot about it, and then years later, I remembered that I had a Coinbase account, and I logged in, and holy crap! Like my iPhone sale was now worth like $9,000, and I was like, all right, maybe I need to check out what this Bitcoin thing is, and started playing around with it. Thought it was really cool. Sold some of it and bought some other tokens, which is how I found Ethereum. And then next thing I know, I'm working in this space, and here I am. Um, it's been a journey so far, but been love working with Origin over the last about a year and a half. I'm on the like you said, on the BD team. I help facilitate business for specifically the DeFi side of Origin Protocol, mainly focusing on small to medium sized businesses and DAOs. Lots of DAOs. I work with a lot of DAOs. But thanks again for having me on here. It's always great to chat with you guys.
Yeah, it's great to hear from you. And I think this is an origin story most of us can be jealous of. I wish I mistakenly happened upon, Bitcoin back in the early days like that. Always jealous to hear these types of intro stories. So glad to hear that from you, Peter. And now that we know a little bit about you, let's dive right into Origin. So can you tell us more about what you're building at Origin, what you and the team are building, and how this idea came to be? I know we've talked in the past about this interesting narrative of, there's been an evolution of the products at Origin. Can you take us a bit through the history of product offerings and where you guys are today?
Yeah. Honestly, the history is quite long. We've pivoted a few times from a different, actually a lot of different products, probably 10 different products. So I won't go through all of those because that would take up the whole call. But I can tell you that one of the pivots that we made was quite successful, and that was pivoting into becoming an NFT launchpad. So with Origin, if you were maybe a celebrity or a musician or an artist or really anyone who wanted to launch their own NFT, launch their own NFTs on their own platform instead of on like an OpenSea or blur, or you wanted it to be specifically your own brand on your own website, like that's something that you could do through Origin. And with that, we honestly did some pretty successful launches even before I joined Origin. We did the NFT marketplace for Paris Hilton and Don Diablo and I think Lupe Fiasco. We did SpaceX. We a couple records. I think we had the largest ever music NFT sale through the DJ Blau. We sold a whiskey carafe for multi millions of dollars through an NFT. We've sold several houses on the blockchain through another partner of ours, which is Roofstock. So that's what Origin was for a little while. And at the same time that was all going on, one of our founders, Josh, he was really into yield farm, like a lot of crypto degens are. But what he hated to deal with was to pay the gas every time he wanted to move funds between different protocols. Every time maybe you lend on Aave, but notice that the same tokens are paying a higher yield on Compound. You're paying gas to remove from Aave. You're paying gas to then approve the contract on Compound, and then you're paying gas again to redeposit into Compound. That's three different transactions that you have to make, and with the price of gas being around like $30 right now, that start to get expensive, right? And he hated having to pay the money to do that every single time he wanted to reallocate, and that's kind of how the idea for the Origin dollar came to be. We created a token that would essentially do all that for you. It would chase the yield for you, so you never have to deal with paying all the gas to reallocate. With the Origin dollar, you essentially have the highest earning DeFi yields possible, but without having to manage a position. So essentially, how the token works is the Origin dollar is a stable coin, and this all happened back in I think early 2020 or some point in 2020. With the Origin dollar, it's backed by other stablecoins. So it's backed by USDC, USDT, and DAI. And when you convert in from one of those three, you get a one-to-one amount of the Origin dollar. But we then take that stablecoin and we deploy it across other protocols for yield. So we're lending it to Aave and Compound and two different Morpho markets. We're lending it to Convex and Curve. We're lending actually multiple Curve pools. We're lending it to Maker through their DSR, and we're lending it to Flux through or Ondo, which is Flux. So it's being deployed across all those different protocols, and the yield that we're able to generate from that is being passed back to the holders through what we would call a rebase, which essentially is kind of like a dividend. And it's honestly worked quite well since launch. There's been no issues since we've completed all the audits. The yield for the Origin dollar is right now actually at 5.5% APY, which is great. I mean, that it's essentially a savings account for your wallet. And as of maybe about 5 or 6 months ago, we decided to launch another version of the Origin dollar, which is Origin Ether, and it's essentially the exact same token. It's 95% of the same code base, except that instead of using stablecoins for collateral, it uses ETH and LSTs. So Origin Ether is backed by ETH itself, as well as wrapped ETH, and then 3 LSTs, which is Lido, Rocket Pool, and Frax. And if you come in with any of those 5 tokens, you'll get a one-to-one amount of Origin Ether, which then takes the collateral and does kind of the same thing as with the Origin dollar. It will deploy it across a handful of different yield strategies. Some of them are the same as the Origin dollar. Some of them are slightly different. So for Origin Ether, we definitely still use Curve and Convex, and we're still using Morpho. But we're also using the LSTs themselves as yield strategies. And then as of recently, also Balancer and Aura, which has been a great addition. That's essentially the main 2 tokens that the DeFi team works on now. The the two yield-bearing assets that essentially will just earn yield for you while sitting in your wallet. It's great because there's no locks, there's no staking, there's no terms or no conditions. Essentially, as long as the Ether token is sitting in your wallet and you're using a non-custodial wallet, like MetaMask or like Ledger, it will continue to earn yield day after day until you decide to exit the token.
Thank you for that background. I think that's really straightforward and comprehensive as to how, starting with Origin Dollar, which was backed by other stablecoins, how that made sense to transition that code base and basically use that product for creating this yield earning LST backed asset, right, which is Origin Ether. So really interested in that and definitely looking forward to diving more into that. One thing actually, when looking at your site, you mentioned this consistent, yield over time. I really liked the UX experience on the site where it actually shows you can select different time frames over which you want to see what was actually being yielded over like OUSD and OETH's history. So definitely encourage people in the audience to go check out the Origin Protocol site. You can click through there and see historically, take a look at what this yield, what yield was being offered there through these products. Let's stay on the topic here while we have a high level look at the different products you guys offer, right? OUSD, OETH, namely as the flagship products. Can we discuss the role of governance as it relates to this entire architecture? I know you guys also have OGV, Origin Dollar Governance. Can you share with us a little bit more about the role of OGV and basically how governance functions within Origin Protocol?
Yeah, so I guess Origin Protocol really has actually two different governance tokens now. Originally, back when we had the other non-DeFi products, Origin was completely governed by the OGN token. And then after rolling out OUSD, it didn't really make sense for us to have one governance token that was governing two completely different business units, essentially. It just didn't make sense. It was hard to tell that story, especially because the two products never really connected. So that's when we rolled out OGV back, I guess that would have been mid 2022. Anyway, so the OGV now governs the entire DeFi side of Origin. So it's the governance token for both OUSD and OETH. And on its own, actually, OGV is just a standard token that you can speculate on and trade. But when you stake it, which would get you VEOGV, that's what gives you the actual governance power, the voting rights. And those who choose to stake the token also receive a portion of the yield that OUSD and OETH can generate. It's actually 10% of each of them, 10% of OUSD yield and 10% of OETH yield. And since the combined TVL of both tokens right now is right around $90 million, those who choose to stake it are actually making a pretty nice return. Stakers are currently earning, let's see, what I can see is 27.65% APY. And that actually might be coming up because there was a governance proposal that passed recently that changed the amount that was going to stakers from the OETH side. Previously it was 0, and now it's at 10. So we should see that the staking APY come up pretty soon. Anyway, at this point, anyone can choose to participate in that if they'd like to. You can stake from anywhere from 1 week to I think 4 years, and most people are choosing the longer length, which is great. At the moment, it looks like almost 80% of all OGV is staked. I'm seeing 79.79%. So a majority of all the OGV that exists is staked. I know that a lot of the Origin team, including myself, chose to stake for the full 4 years because we're not planning on selling anytime soon. We definitely believe in the two products, and therefore the longer you stake, the higher return you're going to get. So it just made sense.
I definitely agree. It's always great to see teams doubling down and betting on the long term of what they're building, right? That's really important in this space, or at least it's a really good sign regarding the confidence that a team has. And I really like this multi-token architecture. You're separating essentially the governance from the actual utility tokens in a sense, right? Apart from the actual OETH and the actual OUSD utility tokens, and those which are, you know, value accruing and actually the core product that you guys offer, you're separating the governance component of this. So I think that's really interesting note here regarding the entire token model that you guys have used. One thing I want to dive into also is this collateral selection. I think it's always interesting to ask teams working in the liquid staking sort of category, what is the value or what is the criteria that they assess when deciding which tokens to use as collateral, which tokens to support? You already mentioned that you guys are the LSTs backing Origin Ether, are those which are provided by Lido, Rocket Pool, and Frax. Can you share more on this decision-making process behind what tokens to support as collateral for OETH? And is there any roadmap ahead for adding more tokens?
That's a great question. And so before even launching OETH, we performed a risk assessment on a handful of different LSTs, which helped make the decision on which ones to start with. And that assessment essentially included diving into the smart contract practices of each of the LSTs, going through the recent audit findings, checking the peg stability to ETH, looking into the admin controls and any information that we could find on the team and the documentation that was currently available. We spent a lot of time on it and went through a lot of different LSTs. And that's essentially how we landed on the three that we did. But nowadays, we're really looking for a few main things for a new LST, if there were to be one. We're looking to, hey, like, is the TVL over $100 million? That's really like the first thing we're looking at. What kind of validator rewards are there, or can they pay? Does the LST already have DeFi integrations available? That's definitely a big one, because the more options that are currently available within DeFi for these different LSTs, the more strategies that we can build. And then additionally, how easily can we unwind to ETH if needed? That's definitely a big one that some of the LSTs out there don't have enabled at the moment. But even if an LST doesn't meet all of those points, anyone can submit a proposal to include another LST as OETH collateral. The protocol itself is still completely governed by the stakers of OGV. So it's just a pretty standard governance process to go through all that with multiple stages, starting with essentially a forum post, and then there's a snapshot vote, just kind of like as a temperature check, and then finally an on-chain vote. And the on-chain vote includes the actual code that would add the LST to OETH as collateral. So yeah, anyway, any LST can go ahead and go through that whole process if they'd like. There's actually been a few that have started the process earlier this year. I know there was one from a forum post from Swell and one from Stater as well, to include SWETH and ETHX as OETH collateral. But actually, they never submitted the proposal to Snapshot, so we never got to see that signaling vote. And I don't know, maybe they forgot, or maybe it stalled out. But yeah, anyone can go through that process now. It's still a decentralized protocol.
Maybe they're listening here today, or they'll see this on record, and this will prompt them to actually end up, finalizing the submission there.
Yeah.
But no, that's interesting. I think that, like, to take away what you said there at a high level, right? You mentioned TVL, validator rewards. You mentioned how easy it is to redeem for ETH. I think at a high level, some of these topics that you're referencing are really interesting, right? You're looking at, like, security, relevance of the protocol, accessibility, and basically yield optimization. Because at the end of the day, the way that you guys are staying competitive within these products is offering, industry leading yield on them. So let's stay on this topic, right? You're delivering top of the market APYs on OETH. And I want to pick your brain, Peter, since you're on the BD side, and you mentioned that there's more of a specific type of target group that you tackle here on BD. I think you mentioned like middle to large tier organizations. I'd love to learn more about really what that means, right? So Origin Protocol has done such a great job distinguishing itself and capturing its community within the competitive liquid staking market. Part of this we've already addressed with the top of the market APYs. Can you share more on really like what are the other factors that have distinguished you guys and enabled you to be so successful in this space? Within the liquid staking category, and can you share more about like what your role entails? What are you looking for as it relates to BD and these flagship products?
That's a great question. Um, I wear a lot of hats on the BD team. I help out with integrations with Origin Ether and Origin Dollar, and I help out with raising the TVL essentially of the protocol itself. Um, I guess the last few months, a lot of my time has gone more towards the integration side. So essentially, I have gotten in front of practically every single lending market protocol or CDP protocol that I could find in essentially in the entire world, which at this point I think has been a list of about like 40 or 50 on the ETH mainnet. And essentially, my goal has been to get on all of them. And it's been a long process, a very slow process, because all of these projects, for the most part, are DAOs, and so they all have to go through that same exact governance process that other projects have to go through with us to get on Origin Ether. We have to go through with them, and it's finally starting to happen after so many months of hard work, which has been super exciting. Just about a week or two ago, we were able to pass a proposal and get on the lending market for interest protocol. So users can essentially lend their OETH, or I guess in this case the wrapped OETH, to interest protocol and borrow their token, which is USDI, the stablecoin. And then with that, if they wanted to, they could invest that into other tokens, or they could convert it into additional Origin Ether, which they could then relend, and they could do that loop several times if they wanted to, which would increase the yield that they're earning. But that was really like the first ever lending market for not just for Origin Ether, but for Origin DeFi, like ever, which is super exciting. So we're trying to do more of those. And actually, we'll see probably this week. We'll probably see two more votes go up to have Origin Ether as collateral, which would be really exciting. We'll see one with TAI money. That's TAI .money, which is kind of a similar protocol to interest protocol, in which you would essentially just lend to the protocol and borrow stablecoin, which in this case would be with the wrapped version of Origin Ether. And then the other is likely going to be Libra, which has been a very popular protocol to use over the past month, specifically with LSTs. So it would be slightly different with them, because they'll actually be able to use the rebasing version of the protocol, of the Origin Ether protocol, which would be super exciting, because not many protocols have the ability to do that because of the changing quantity. So that's essentially where a lot of my time has been going, is adding new utility to the token, really everywhere possible. At this point, it's been it's taken a lot of work. It's a lot of governance proposals that we've had to write, that I've had to write, but it's finally happening, and I'm glad it is, because we've wanted to do this pretty much since building the token.
Thank you for that background on that. I think it's really interesting, and I want to say congratulations on the progress. It seems you guys are in this really exciting stage right now with these upcoming integrations. Peter, I think this is why you and I get along so well, or see eye to eye so much in this space. Is my role is pretty similar. We're both basically tackling similar types of protocols here, trying to reach out to them and and connecting with these types of exciting teams. So really, really great to see that we share this in our roles here. This is part of what I love about being on the BD side of the industry, is chatting with all these exciting teams, learning about what they're doing, and then, trying to bring collaborations to life. So that's a perfect transition into, exploring the collaboration between our teams. Let's talk about the Dia Oracle's integration that you guys have, made here. Can you, from your perspective, and, I'm also happy to go back and forth and add some light on anything here. Can you share or discuss the nature of the partnership between Dia and Origin, and why you guys selected Dia as your Oracle provider for this component? A lot of the use cases you were just discussing are going to involve Dia. So can you share some insights onto the desired outcome of this collaboration?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of like a pretty cool way that we found you guys in the first place. Well, actually, I remember that I think we came on one of your Twitter spaces like months before we actually had any conversations about using you guys as an Oracle, and then kind of never really thought about having any conversations with you guys for some reason. I don't remember why. And actually, then one day, one of our community members submitted a proposal to our forum saying like, "Hey, you guys should start the process of obtaining a DA Oracle," which I think, if I remember correctly, starts with just a proposal to the DIA forum. And we spent some time, we checked it out, and after noticing that DIA already had OETH and OUSD on the token price feeds page, we thought it definitely made sense to start that process and get that proposal written and submitted to your forum. And now that that's all been done and the Oracle's been completed, we're definitely at the stage where we can start pushing out the Oracle to the world for other protocols to utilize. It's exciting because really there's no other Oracle service that's been able to launch a price feed for OUSD and OETH at this point in time. And it's definitely necessary. I mean, especially with all these lending markets and CDPs that we're speaking with, essentially, for those on the call who aren't aware of the point of the Oracle, it confirms really what the price is and that the pricing is correct. When it comes to lending a token to a lending protocol, that's important because you're using that token as collateral to borrow another token. And if something were to happen with the price and the protocol thinks that it's something higher or lower than it actually is, that could get you liquidated. You could easily lose money that way if there's no Oracle. So having an Oracle like Dia that can confirm the price not just once a day, but even when there's like a price movement throughout the day, that's super important. And I'm happy that we were able to get one set up with you guys and that we can start pushing it out, because we're going to need an Oracle like that for practically every single money market integration that we do ever.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you added some context for the audience and for anybody who's not entirely familiar with the role of the Oracle. I think that was well explained. And yeah, as you said, for any of these DeFi protocols to access this external pricing information for assets, right? Many of these protocols are functioning based off this pricing. Whether you're using an Oracle for the pricing of assets which are being leveraged, as Peter said, for assets which are being lent or borrowed. Really, all of these different use cases for assets which are being used as collateral, all of these different use cases are needing an Oracle to report the actual value of those assets in real time. So thanks for highlighting that, Peter. And one thing that you referenced there is actually how, the different components of how oracles can actually be updated, right? So you referenced how there's time-based updates for Dia oracles, which means the pricing of these assets are being updated upon predefined time intervals, whether it's, let's say, 1 minute or every 2 minutes or 10 minutes, right? This part is actually customizable. So that's based on time, but also based on deviation of price. So also based on if the asset's changing in value in real time, as you mentioned. So glad to see that you guys are utilizing both of these different update triggers rather, for providing real-time price feeds into the protocols that you're collaborating with. And again, that's really the exciting thing here of these collaborations. it's oftentimes not just limited to one-on-one, but it expands and allows for relationships between tons of new protocols. So really excited, Peter, to see where this, this is sort of the foundation for many of your next steps that will come. Not necessarily the foundation. I shouldn't use that because that might take away from, every amazing thing you guys are doing at Origin, but really it's this integral component of like collaboration that's required between us and all the teams or many of the teams that you'll be working with. So I think this is only the beginning. And maybe we can even host you guys and hop on one of yours or bring you back on in a year from now and see where we're at. But thanks for adding insights into that collaboration, and I'm really excited for this. Let's transition into a little bit of looking forward and what's next for Origin. We highlighted today this really interesting history you guys have. I love the product shift. I think that this space moves fast, and teams that ship fast and are able to stay up to date with changing market conditions and needs and, narratives are teams that are succeeding in this space. So looking forward, how are you guys, positioned to stay on top of what's happening next in the market? You've done so well to do that with this LST trend, which has so quickly become the leading category of TVL and DeFi. What's next for Origin? Is there anything besides these partnerships that you referenced that's on the roadmap, whether it's developments or partnerships that or product expansions rather that we can be excited about or that we should look forward to?
Yeah, we're continuing to build as much as we can. We just launched a new 80/20 pool on Balancer last Tuesday, and funded it with some ETH and OETH, and we put up a gauge proposal for it last Thursday as well. So check that out, and I guess we're going to be building some additional Balancer strategies as well. I know I said a lot about CDPs and lending markets already, but that's something that will just continue to pound until we get everything across the line. Having users the ability to borrow against their OUSD and OETH and do some looping is so powerful. That's really like one of the main focuses for us for at least like the rest of the year. And continuing to build out integrations with other vault platforms as well to tap into OETH yields on the back end. So some of those that we're doing is, let's see, we did one with Vaultcraft, who was previously Popcorn Network. We're building with Locus Finance and One Click Crypto. So there's a lot of building going on simultaneously, all trying to get to the end goal of essentially utilizing the Origin Ether as the core component. We're at the same time continuing to build as many different new yield strategies as we can to help not just increase the yield, but also diversify, which is better from a security standpoint. That way, if there are any issues with one of the yield strategies, it wouldn't completely destroy the protocol. It would only, if we even noticed it, it would only slightly affect us. So that's been super big. We always keep security at the forefront of anything that we're doing here.
Absolutely, that's of vital importance, of course. And apart from just Origin, right? When we look at the future of LSTs and LSTfi, is there anything that really excites you or stands out? One thing I want to pick your brain on is like, do you see this ultimate cross section between real world assets or RWAs and LSTs? Is there ever this possibility that one day Origin's assets will be collateralized by real world assets? Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself or thinking too far. Like, how do you see this? Do you think that there's a cross section between these two growing categories within the crypto space?
It's not completely impossible. I've actually had a couple different conversations with platforms that do real world asset tokenization. It would just have to go through the same process, really, the same governance cycle, starting with the forum post and then going on to the snapshot and then going on to the on-chain vote. It's just that none of the like with those other two LSTs, none of the real world asset platforms or projects came in and started that process. But I mean, we're big fans of the future of tokenizing real world assets. But we did it with Roofstock and actually with Pudgy, the Pudgy Penguins marketplace was a great example of us being involved in that. That's been one of like the most successful real world launches, at least for an NFT project ever. I remember when that finally happened and they launched on Amazon. They were like the most sold toy for like multiple days in a row by like a long shot. It was crazy. And then they got into Walmart, which was huge. But yeah, we're huge fans of it. They just have to start the governance process. It's really as simple as that.
I love it. It's spoken like a true like governance oriented protocol. I bring up some random subtopic here, and you're like, well, if it passes the vote, I guess it's possible. I love it. That's really how I think a lot of things are intended to function within the space. So that's a really fun and great answer here. Shows that the innovation and sort of like a lot of the future development here is in the hands of OGV holders and in the hands of people who will be voting within Origin Protocol. So, I'm really excited to see where you guys take things in the future. Excited to see all these upcoming partnerships and for future integrations for OUSD and OETH that come to life. And at this time, let's transition into like closing up here a little bit. I want to just ask you, is there anything that we missed? Any other technical or end user differentiations between Origin and other, Ether denominated LST products that we didn't discuss, or anything else to highlight here that you'd like to add? And if not, maybe perhaps you can give us some insights on the best way to stay up to date and get in touch with the team for people who want to take next steps.
Honestly, I think we pretty much covered everything. I guess I can mention that. I mean, at this point, people seem to trust us much more than the other aggregators out there. I mean, we built a OETH in the middle of a bear market and managed to hit 100 million in TVL. Um, since I mean, I think we just hit that last week with the price of ETH. So I mean, that's great. That's not something you get every day. Especially compared to the TVL of other products that are somewhat similar, which would be maybe like Unsheath or Overnight Finance or Sommelier. I guess that's what you get when you when you do 14 audits and have Llama Risk giving you a thumbs up, that people will start to use your product. But yeah, I guess other than that, the easiest way to stay up to date with what's going on at Origin is to definitely join our Discord server and hop on the community call that we hold every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific. That's really where we go through the latest updates and in the integrations and governance proposals within Origin. So it's a great resource for keeping up with what we're doing. And I guess it wouldn't hurt to follow us on Twitter as well. I think the Origin account is one of the listeners on this call right now. So definitely give them a follow.
Yeah, exactly. So the Origin team, the Origin Twitter profile is pinned to the top of these spaces here. So go ahead and check that out if interested. And good to know. So hopping into Discord on, you said Monday, right? Monday is when you guys have these community calls to dive deeper.
That's right. Every Monday at 9 a.m. PST.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Great to know. Thank you. And so for anybody in the audience who wants to dive a little bit deeper, that's the way to do it. Those are the intentions here, to give some, preliminary introduction to the protocols, what they're doing, and how we're collaborating with them. And if this is of interest for you to take next steps, that's the resources you can do so with. So at that, Peter, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to continue collaborating with you guys and continue taking next steps and seeing where we can, work together to bring and spread this product. I know it's mostly on you, but I'm excited for you guys. So I want to also, partake in any way that I can to help this collaboration succeed even further. Thanks to the Origin Protocol team for joining us, and everybody in the audience who joined us today to listen as well. Peter, it's been great chatting with you.
Likewise, thanks for having me on again.
Thank you. And we'll see you on the next episode. Everybody, take care. We'll see you on the next episode of Partner in Focus. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.